morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tomorrow, Cyclone Chido will hit landfall in Zimbabwe. This cyclone has done a lot of damage in the Mozambique Channel, Mayotte Island. And today it's hitting landfall in Mozambique. And its route is going to take it across Mozambique into parts of Malawi and then proceed down to Zimbabwe. By the time it reaches Zimbabwe, the full force of the cyclone would have been mostly dissipated. It was at its strongest on the 9th of December, as it went across the Indian Ocean. It skidded over northern Madagascar to reach the island there. And then it did hit Mozambique, and today it's sailing through Mozambique, and it will hit Malawi this evening, and then cross over back into Mozambique to hit Zimbabwe on Tuesday. We are getting used to having these very strong storms frequently because of the climate changes. But somehow we are not prepared for it. When it hit the island of Mayotte, this is a ship, a barger, and it left it stranded on the shore. And so one can imagine the force of the storm. Further inland, it damaged most of the housing structures there, and causing also landslide, as we can see there. One can only imagine that if Zimbabwe was going to expect this storm with the same force as we witnessed in Mozambique, the level of damage it will do in Zimbabwe will be really shocking, given that we still have in Zimbabwe this as our home. What chance will they stand faced with such a storm? Why are we in the 21st century still living in structures like this? Welcome to you, Benjamin.
Good day to you. Good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic that you have, chosen to discuss. Zimbabwe's preparedness for tropical, these tropical storms. We know about the climate change that is affecting, the world actually. And, it seems as if Zimbabwe is not prepared at all. Here we have, we're expecting they said normal to heavy rains, and we were already, anticipating this tropical cyclone to touch at some point, and And when I was in Zimbabwe, I looked in one of the drainage systems in the urban centers in town, and I was shocked to find that this drainage, you know, this part of this drainage system had actually closed up with silt to an extent that I think it had hardened to as if somebody had poured a cement in it. And this is why you find our drainage systems are no longer working. Years and years and years of build-up and neglect has caused them to block and permanently block for that matter. So now you will be shocked to see, floods in urban centers. Not talking about rural areas. In urban centers, the water has got no way to flow or to be channeled to, because those drainage systems are long gone. It's going to be just sad. I mean, we have to expect waterborne diseases, and we know our sewage systems are no longer working. Potentially, this is just going to be a health hazard in urban areas. And then to go to the rural areas, we know, these mud homes, they won't make it. They really won't make it. And it's surprising, like you said, in the 21st century, this day and age, we still have structures like this in our rural areas. Sad, 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 sad story.
Yeah, I mean, a structure like that one, you can see that even normal rains, it will be leaking. And when you've got a cyclone with the winds, that mud structure will not stand. And as the weather becomes more and more severe, more and more of our people are exposed to these devastating disasters. I call them man-made because let's be honest about it. Zimbabwe should be an upper middle income country. We had the potential to become one. And we can still become one. But we are not, because ZANU-PF wants the people to remain poor for its own selfish political gains. That point cannot be denied. In the 70s, an economist, John Robertson, the banker, advised Ian Smith that if he was to give the blacks in the rural areas title deeds to their land, they will have the confidence to build decent homes for themselves. Because when you know you own the land, you know you can invest on that piece of land, build a decent home, dig a proper well, plant fruit trees, etc., etc., improve that piece of land, knowing fully well that if you should want to live, you can sell the structure you have built, the well, the fruit trees, everything is an ongoing thing. But when you don't own the land, You cannot do that. Ian Smith refused to give the blacks title deeds to land because he reasoned if they get rights to property, the next thing they would want is political rights. He didn't want to take a chance with that. The same John Robertson advised Prime Minister Robert Mugabe in the 80s. And he too rejected the plan for the same reasons. He too did not want the ordinary people to have title deeds because he reasoned that will give them political rights. This argument is not new. This argument is being made here by a ZANU-PF steward in her own right, Margaret Dong.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for ZANU-PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. ZANU-PF will never have control over them.
Tragedy, Benjamin, of Zimbabwe, where millions are being kept in abject poverty for political gain.
When you look at the way our government ZANU-PF operates, when you find that there are these climate change summits, the amount of people that go to these or that attend these summits from Zimbabwe, I think it's an open invitation to say whoever doesn't have anything to do, let us go. And for sure, lo and behold, everybody has nothing to do, and they go over 100 strong just to attend a climate change summit. And unfortunately, when they return from that summit, nothing is addressed about the preparedness of us towards this our changing weather patterns and everything. Nothing is taught to the people on how to try and mitigate the damages. And this is where you find when somebody stands up and says we are going to be an upper middle income economy by 2030, when you still have a mad heart. Surely it doesn't take a very, very bright guy to actually see that this guy in the picture there is not going to achieve that status anytime soon. His house is already fallen apart. That is what he is surviving on, probably to feed himself and to sell as well, right? For me, it's the most sad part is our failure now to realize as Zimbabweans that all this that we are being told and being promised is nothing but just hot air. It's a mirage. It's never going to happen. There has to be work put towards achieving this. You just can't wish away, these things to happen. I mean, you're talking about, people having title deeds. With the title deed, you have endless opportunities. You can walk into a bank and get money out of your own land, loans out of your own land, develop it, plow into it and pay back from that same land. So you have endless opportunities. But like what Margaret Dongo says, once people are empowered, they can now stand on their 2 feet. They don't need charity anymore. They're no longer a basket case. They're no longer a charity case. They can be able to tell ZANU-PF that we don't mind, we don't care about, your food rations that you come giving us. We have our own. You now need to up the game and provide, something that is more, tangible, something that is, the next stage. And ZANU-PF, because they are, they cannot achieve much. They're poor achievers. They would want to just continue giving you food, and then you sing a song to them and praise to say, you have fed a hungry stomach, and that's it. Beyond that, they don't see anything. They cannot do anything for the people. It's sad. It's really, really sad.
Tragedy is, in this, the 21st century, it is sad that anyone should call such a structure their home. Any human being should be living in a structure like this, particularly in these changing times. Any of these, even though this storm has been downgraded to a storm by the time it hits Zimbabwe, any structure that is on its way, most of them will collapse. But of course, we'll never hear about it. Because, of course, when you live in a structure like that, you're not likely to be killed, even if it does collapse. But if it was a heavy storm, we know from Cyclone Ida that the devastation will be complete. I think what makes our case really tragic is that the ruling party is the one that is keeping people deliberately poor. They cannot help themselves because the regime does not want them to escape their present status. This is the regime that is determined to keep people poor and safe and beholden to the ZANU-PF political ruling elite. This is truly unacceptable. This is madness. The very fact that many Zimbabweans out there, we have allowed this to continue, is unforgivable. Thank you very much, Ben. And to those of you who were able to join us tonight, thank you again. I hope you'll be able to join us again tomorrow. Same time, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Good night.